What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Ruse Reviews, and today we are chatting about Liquid Spectrum by Tobias Dostal. So, let's get into this. Yes, hello. Hope you're all having a great festive season and Happy New Year. I think by the time this goes live, it will probably be New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, around that sort of time. So Happy New Year wherever you are in the world. If you haven't been here before, hello, my name is Rue. I do weird things for a living, including this review channel. So what is Liquid Spectrum? Liquid Spectrum is a way to manipulate your surroundings as a magician to make it seem like you are literally melting things or turning things into liquid directly in front of your spectators' eyes. This has a similar feel to one of Tobias's previous releases called Liquify, in which things would sort of melt in your hands, whether that be a ring or an object. It would sort of feel like it melted into liquid into your hand before turning back into a solid object. This has a very similar vein. So I know a lot of people that are sort of combining these two together in a performance. This feels like real-life alchemy. Now, this is a word that Tobias uses in the tutorial, and it's a word that I love a lot as well. It's a very cool way to describe what is happening, a very poignant way to describe what is happening with the effect that you get. But it really feels like life and the environment around you as a magician is changing. And it's those kind of effects that are quite hard to come by as a magician. You want to be able to do things at a moment's notice. You want to be able to borrow some soy sauce off a restaurant, off a restaurant table. You want to spill a little bit of Coke that you're drinking or something like that, and something just happens. And it's not necessarily the main thing, the main focus. It might not necessarily be the main effect, but it's just something that happens around you as a magician. And these are the tools that you get with Liquid Spectrum that allow you to make this kind of stuff happen. The packaging itself looks like this. This is what you get. It's a lovely presented box. This is in conjunction with Illusionist, the production that Tobias is doing here with the Liquid Spectrum. But you get this wonderful kind of psychedelic-y, the back, it's this really kind of psychedelic looking design. They've spent an awful lot of time going through this. Inside, I've taken the actual gaffs out, the main gaffs, and I'll cover up the the tutorial for you, but you get some bits in there as well. I don't know if you can see that on camera there. You get a lollipop, you get a rubber ducky, and you get a Sharpie. The rubber duck and the Sharpie are just normal items. You've probably got one or either around your house if you like taking baths. The lollipop itself is gimmick. So that is a gimmick lollipop that allows you to do that amazing visual suck up of the red liquid and it turns into a lollipop. It is very, very cool, very, very visual. There's even on the front of here like hints as to the effects you get, and the sort of idea of a melting lighter. That's Tobias does that with a yellow lighter and he melts it into the table before sort of cleaning it up or forming it back into the lighter. That's really, really cool. There's the coin here, so this is a Terminator coin. That's what Tobias calls it, the Terminator coin, which is kind of cool. You basically turn a silver coin into molten silver before reforming it back into the coin again. Or you can, he does a thing where he chats in the tutorial about turning himself into the Terminator. So like part of his body turns into this silver puddle and then coming back out. That's really, really cool. Again, it's just a different level of thinking. You also get a nod to the lollipop, which is there as well, along with a nice appearing duck. I really, really love the duck appearing idea. It's just a cool little thing to add. The gaff duck that I got didn't squeak. I think in the tutorial it squeaks a little bit, like he touches the liquid and it squeaks, so it then turns into the duck. But in mine it doesn't squeak, which I'm kind of happy about. I don't want it to prematurely squeak in my hand. So yes, mine doesn't squeak, but I love this little idea of being able to spill some mustard or something like that, or squeeze some mustard onto the table, and it just pools as like a little pool of mustard, and you then just form it and shape it back up into a little rubber ducky. And there's this nice little moment with a rubber duck that, because it's rubber, it's squished, right? And it pops up, the little head pops up, and it looks like it forms in real time, which is really, really cool. And the audiences can, of course, feel this at the end of the effect as well. But the main gaff, the gaff itself, is very, very well made. If you look after these things, they will last for a very, very long time. They're made of a material which will just last. It's not going to break in any way unless you sort of cut it or chuck it under a car or do something like that. It's not going to be damaged in any way. You just have to maintain your gaffs like you do with anything in Magic. This actual project itself, from what I know, took about 6 years. It's been 6 years in the making. And this is all of Tobias's blood, sweat and tears. And you can see that in the tutorial. You can see when a magician or a mentor or a tutor within Magic is passionate about what they're doing, about what they're teaching. So much so that in this tutorial, which I'll touch on in a second, there's a 20-minute jam session where Tobias is just riffing ideas. He's just going through so much stuff. There are people off camera handing him things and he'll do stuff with the things that are just being randomly handed to him. That's something that I really, really love within tutorials, this idea of a jam session, because it really opens up creativity. And when you see creativity happening in other people, it starts to open up within yourself as well. You get 6 gaffs in total. You get a black gaff, you get a silver gaff, you get a yellow gaff, you get a red gaff, you get a clear gaff, so like a clearish kind of liquid. I wouldn't say it's like water, but it is sort of like a cloudy liquid. And then you also get a brownish gaff, which makes it look like if you're sort of pouring a bit of like foam from a Coca-Cola bottle, or a beer, if you're spilling a beer or something like that. It gives that kind of soda impression. 2 of the gaffs I'm actually carrying around with me at the moment. They're in my EDC. They're literally in my wallet, like wrapped up. I'll go into that in a second, but they're literally carrying around in my wallet so that I can go into this out and about. I'm carrying around the black one and the silver one. As a coin magician, the silver one is a godsend, and I'll put a little performance clip up in a second. And the black one, I use the Sharpie melting for the cap, right? So if you've seen the tutorial, there's a wonderful effect where Tobias takes the lid off a Sharpie and just melts it into the table before then reforming it back onto the Sharpie. I love doing this. I've performed it quite a few times, and a few times live now, which, you know, I wanted to give this effect its due diligence, and it's stunning. As a coin worker, the silver gimmick really looks like a Morgan's silver dollar. It doesn't look too much like, I mean, it can obviously work for any coin because it's just a silver gaff, but there's little details within the actual gaff itself, like the little darkening of edges, the molten bits within the actual gimmick that make it look like you've taken an old silver dollar. I mainly use Morgan silver dollars for Magic. And when that melts, it really looks like a cool visual moment. Another thing to note is that these gaffs come in different sizes as well. There's many different ways to make it look like these things are melting and sort of reforming in front of you. And Tobias goes into all of this. But they are many, many different shapes. That is because the things that you might be melting might not produce that amount of liquid, right? And Tobias has really thought about this. For example, the yellow gaff that you get is probably the biggest. I think it's the biggest. Whereas the coin or the red gaff that you might use for the lollipop, so the lollipop is only a small red space, right? The coin is only a small silver dollar size. They're slightly smaller. So Tobias has really thought about how these liquids might really interact with reality. It's not just props for the sake of having them look the same, all having the effect be the same, because not all effects are the same. He's really given you the tools to make this your own. So enough waffling, I will show you my version of Terminator coin. It's a little bit of a small adaptation to what Tobias teaches, but very, very minimal. The final effect is exactly the same. I've come up with loads of ways of using the silver gaff with coins because I'm mainly a coin worker when I do close-up stuff. So yes, enjoy Terminator coin. And there you go, that was Terminator coin. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know if I put music over that, I might have done, I might not have done, but either way, I hope you guys enjoyed it. The tutorial itself is neatly broken down. It's expertly filmed, of course, by illusionists. Every tutorial that they make looks very, very good. Multiple camera angles, multiple slow-mos, which I think is really, really cool. There's not enough slow motion or at least slow down performances. When Tobias refilms, he'll show you the effect, and then he goes back into an over-the-shoulder view, and he slows down every movement so that you know exactly what is happening and when. And it's those little slow-mos that really help you as a performer. I noticed this whilst I filmed a couple of my own projects of coin magic, that being able to see exactly where every finger position is, where the pressure might be, where your hands might be for angles, all of that kind of stuff, it's broken down the best in those over-the-shoulder, slowed down performances. So kudos to Illusionist and Tobias for doing that. There are 13 videos in total. I haven't tallied up the amount of watch hours, but it's not overkill at all. It's just the right amount of time to be watching and enjoying everything you need in this project. There's no 9-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour tutorials of everything that's ever been filmed, because the idea is that you are given the tools, right? Tobias plants the seed and you go out there and you do your own thing with it. There are 10 effects taught, everything from rewinding liquid. You can rewind liquid to the jam session, which I told you about. That's in the last couple of videos. There's a couple of performance videos as well, live, and that's another thing. There are live performance videos. The live performance videos that you see in the tutorial, they're also, live performances that you saw in the trailer, they're also in the tutorial, and they're in their entirety. So you get to see live, real, in-person reactions. And this really does get a reaction because it's not like anything anybody's ever seen before. If you just bought this for the Sharpie effect alone, you would get your money's worth. I think over here in the UK, it's about 55 to 60 pounds, something like that. I bought this directly from Monster Magic, so shout out Alex for getting this. I ordered this on Boxing Day and it came to me within the next 2 days. Absolutely amazing service from Monster Magic as always. But the fact is there's so much stuff that you can do with these gaffs and so much inspiration within the tutorial that even if you don't use the Sharpie or the coin or the duck or whatever, there's so many other things you can do. There's so many other things you can come up with. Tobias mentions in the tutorial about him being reminded of those pranks that you get as a kid, where you'd have like a ketchup packet and then it looked like a fake spill coming out of the ketchup packet. This is really reminiscent of those kind of things. And that doesn't mean that it needs to be a throwaway moment. It's kind of a transitional moment in your performance. You know, you can have someone sign a card, do a card effect, but the Sharpie's still on the table and you can end on that. Now, I would say end on something like this because this is what they're going to remember. Doesn't matter how strong your ambitious card is, doesn't matter how strong that ambitious card is, it's not going to top this. You end on this because this is what they're going to remember. At any point, whatever you're doing, if it's the one thing you do that evening and it's the one thing that everybody sees, you do it super quick. Could be 30 seconds, could be a minute, could be 10 seconds, doesn't matter. It's that moment that they'll remember of something melting into liquid and then reforming into something else or just vanishing. It's just a really nice way of thinking within Magic. And I touched on this with Repo, you know, Tobias's product Repo, which I reviewed. It might have been the last video that I did. That it's just a different way of thinking, right? It's really adapting the environment that's around you. And it's one of those things that even if it is a throwaway moment, even if it is a funny moment, you have the option to make it that. You have the option to make it a funny moment or something that's throwaway, or have it a nice transitional piece from one effect to another. It can be literally anything you want. The gaffs that you get give you that option to play. And Tobias's main message in the tutorial, I feel, is play. Play with your environment, play with your surroundings, play with your gaffs, play with the magic that's around you, and you can create real miracles in front of your spectators. I really have nothing else to say about this other than this might be, if this goes out on time, hopefully by the 31st or on the 31st, the best thing that I bought in 2024 in terms of visual magic. This is 100% a worker. This is something that I'm performing myself now. It's something that I'm enjoying practicing and just doing in any random situation. This is very, very cool. This feels like a really nice piece de resistance. If Tobias never produced anything again, this would be well worth it. There's really not much more for me to say about this. I think you guys can tell by how passionate I've been in this review. And I really get passionate about a lot of things, but when I like something, when I'm enjoying something, I will rabbit on about it. So I apologise if I have. But the link is below. Go pick up your copy of Liquid Spectrum. I think it is one of the coolest things you will purchase this year going into 2025. If you haven't been here before, like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell for many, many more reviews to come. Have a great rest of your 2024 and have an amazing 2025. And I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao.